My sister took my $36,000 car after I said no, then smiled. Mom and Dad will make you forgive me. They tried until I showed them the police report. Her job didn't survive it. I never thought a car could shatter a family, but mine did. That day, my sister didn't just destroy the brand new Subaru I'd worked 4 grueling years to buy. She ignited a firestorm of reckoning, forcing me to finally stand up for myself against 30 years of emotional manipulation. God, I remember that morning so clearly. Easing my brand new metallic gray Subaru Crosstrek into my parents' driveway, I could still feel the gentle purr of that engine under my fingertips. $36,000. Paid in full. No loans, no debt. Just 4 years of relentless, absolute sacrifice, finally shimmering there in gleaming steel. We did it, I whispered, running my hand across the smooth leather steering wheel. The new car sent like the sweetest victory. But then I saw it, Lydia's faded Corolla, parked crookedly, already blocking half the driveway. Classic Lydia. I had to maneuver awkwardly, practically scraping my pristine paint against Dad's immaculate stone wall. She always took up more space than necessary, completely oblivious to anyone else. Inside, the scene was painfully familiar. Mom, meticulously arranging a casserole. Dad, pouring iced tea. And Lydia, sprawled in her usual chair, glued to her phone. They barely looked up. There she is, Dad grunted. Saw your new ride pull in. Mom offered a tight, forced smile. Sensible. That word hung in the air like a judgment. Sensible Blair. Reliable Blair. Boring Blair. It's gorgeous, I shot back, refusing to let them diminish this. 0 miles when I drove it off the lot this morning. Lydia finally glanced up, her eyes glinting with that familiar predatory interest. A Crosstrek, huh? Those have that new touchscreen system, right? I nodded, making a rookie mistake, setting my keys on the counter. Mind if I take it for a spin? Her tone was casual, too casual, like she was asking to borrow a sweater, not my $36,000 investment. Just around the block. No. The word ripped out, firmer than I'd intended, but I didn't soften it. You're not on my insurance, and I don't give you permission. Her face hardened. You're always so uptight. I'll drive it eventually, you know me. It wasn't a question, it was a promise. A threat. Before I could respond, Mom jumped in, the eternal peacemaker. Let's eat before everything gets cold, she urged. As we sat, my mind drifted to those 4 years. For years of declining happy hours while my coworkers made memories without me. For years of sharing a cramped apartment with strangers who left dirty dishes and blasted music until 3 a.m. For years of cooking every single meal at home, freelancing on weekends when I should have been resting, meticulously tracking every single dollar in a spreadsheet that became my nightly ritual. And all this time, Lydia? She bounced between dead-end jobs, temporary apartments, and fleeting relationships, leaving a trail of unpaid loans and borrowed items never returned. Yet somehow, I was always the unreasonable one when I finally said enough. So, how's the new place? Dad asked, passing the bread. All settled in? Getting there, I replied, grateful for the distraction. Still need to hang some pictures. You should hire someone, Lydia drawled, spearing a potato. You'll probably mess it up. I swallowed my retort, the chicken suddenly tasting like sawdust. Same old pattern, Lydia needles, I absorb, peace prevails. But today, something felt different. Maybe it was the car, sitting out there, tangible proof that standing my ground could actually yield results. I'll manage, I said simply, excusing myself. Need to grab my jacket. It's chilly in here. Climbing the familiar stairs, my hand grazed the banister, worn smooth from decades of family traffic. I lingered in my old room, now Dad's office, letting nostalgia wash over me. But as I headed back down, a cold dread began to seep in. My eyes darted to the counter. The empty space. Where my keys had been. Where are my keys? I asked, my voice terrifyingly calm, even as alarm bells screamed in my head. Mom's face, etched with guilt, told me everything. Lydia just wanted to feel what it's like, she stammered. She'll be careful. I explicitly said no. My hands clenched. Where did she go? Mom and Dad exchanged that look, the one I'd seen 1,000 times, the silent agreement of parents united against their unreasonable child. "She just went around the block," Dad said, his tone dismissing my anger. "She'll be right back." I pulled out my phone, dialing Lydia's number, already knowing what I'd hear. Straight to voicemail. My stomach churned with a sickening cocktail of violation and fury. It felt strangely unfamiliar, yet long overdue. For the first time in my life, I understood with crystal clarity, this wasn't about a car. It was about 30 years of boundaries crossed, promises broken, and respect denied. It was about a family system built on my compliance. And for the first time, I was done complying. My phone vibrated violently against the dining room table, an unknown number. My parents stopped their hushed argument, their eyes locked on my hand. "Hello," I answered, turning away from their scrutiny. "Miss Mendoza? This is Officer Grant Cooper with Jefferson County Police." His voice, practiced in its neutrality, delivered the blow. "Your vehicle has been in an accident. The driver is uninjured." My stomach plummeted. "Where?" He gave an address, just 3 miles away, a busy intersection near the mall. Lydia was probably on her way to show off my car to her friends. I grabbed my purse, stormed out without a word to my parents, and ordered a ride-share with trembling fingers. When I arrived, the scene punched the air from my lungs. My beautiful crosstrek, the culmination of 4 years of sacrifice, was mangled against a concrete barrier. The front end crumpled like discarded gift wrap. Airbags deflated and hung limply. The metallic gray, which had gleamed so proudly just hours ago, was dull beneath dust and debris. But what truly boiled my blood wasn't the wreckage. It was Lydia, leaning against a police cruiser, giggling with a young officer, positioning her phone for a selfie. The destroyed car framed perfectly in the background. Officer Cooper approached, tablet in hand. "Miss Mendoza? I'm Officer Cooper." We spoke. "That's my car," I managed, my voice surprisingly steady despite the rage. "And that's my sister, who took it without permission." He nodded, swiping his screen before turning it toward me. "She's already posted this online." I stared at Lydia's Instagram. A pouty-faced selfie, a crumpled car, and the caption, "Oops, big sis will forgive me. New car problems. Sorry not sorry." The timestamp? 4 minutes ago. 4 minutes ago. My blood ran cold, then boiled. The insurance adjuster made a preliminary assessment. Officer Cooper continued. "Estimated damage is $41,600. Given the vehicle's age and the extent of damage, it's likely a total loss." The figure hung in the air. $5,600 more than I'd paid this morning. My hands clenched. "She admitted she took the vehicle without permission," he confirmed. "That's unauthorized use under Colorado law." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Don't make this into a family crisis. It's just a car. Just a car. Just 4 years of declined invitations. Just countless nights of freelance work. Just eating ramen while my colleagues dined out. Just a car that represented my freedom from exactly this kind of disrespect." Then, a man in a crisp blue suit approached. "Miss Mendoza? Calvin Brooks, from your insurance company." He guided me away, lowering his voice. "This looks like unauthorized use. We can pursue the at-fault driver directly, rather than through your policy." Meaning your rates won't increase, you won't pay a deductible, and your sister becomes financially responsible for the damage. His eyes met mine. "But you need to be clear she didn't have permission." Before I could respond, an elderly woman, Mrs. Winters from down the street, approached. "Blair?" I recognized the car from the neighborhood alerts. I was watering my hostess when she left. "I saw her take your keys. I heard you say no." An unexpected ally. My phone rang again. Rachel from work. "Blair? I just saw Lydia's post. Are you okay? My brother's a lawyer who handles insurance cases. Let me know if you need advice." My parents' SUV screeched into the emergency lane. They rushed past me, straight to Lydia. Mom enveloped her in a protective hug. Dad demanded answers from an officer. After a hurried conversation, he strode over, face flushed. "We need to talk." He pulled me aside, his grip firm. "You need to tell the police she had permission." His voice dropped to a harsh whisper. Don't be ridiculous. If you pursue this, her insurance rates will skyrocket. She could lose her job if they do a credit check. Mom appeared, eyes narrowed. If you pursue this, you'll destroy your sister's future. Is that what you want? Over a car? Over their shoulders, I caught Lydia watching, the faintest smirk playing on her lips when our parents turned away. She mouthed words I could read perfectly. They'll make you forgive me. Just like always. Just like every borrowed, never returned sweater. Every emergency loan. Every crashed laptop. Every broken promise. The pattern stretching back through childhood, through adolescence, through adulthood. Officer Cooper approached again. Miss Mendoza, did your sister have permission to drive your vehicle today? My parents' eyes burned into me, their expectations glaring. The weight of 30 years pressed on my shoulders, 30 years of keeping the peace, of being reasonable, of putting Lydia's needs before my own. I straightened my spine. No, I said clearly, firmly. She did not have permission to drive my vehicle. She took my keys after I explicitly told her no. The officer nodded, tapping his screen. I'm noting that in the report. This will affect how your insurance processes the claim and may result in your sister being personally liable for damages. My parents' faces transformed from pressure to utter shock, as if they'd never truly seen me before. Perhaps they hadn't. As the tow truck loaded what remained of my car, I climbed into the passenger seat. Alone, yes, but feeling strangely lighter than I had in years. The tow truck pulled away, leaving my family standing there in the growing dusk, their silhouettes shrinking in the side mirror. And I didn't look back. The next day at work, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I set it face down on the kitchen counter, but the notifications kept coming, vibrating through the granite like an electric current. Family group text. 27 new messages in the last hour. I flipped it over. Mom's latest text. Family meeting tonight. Mandatory. Below it, a parade of relatives weighing in. Aunt Patricia, your sister made a mistake. That's what insurance is for. Uncle Robert, in my day, siblings stood by each other. Cousin Jennifer, blood is thicker than water, Blair. I turned the phone back over. The buzzing continued. My coffee had gone cold, but I drank it anyway, savoring the bitter taste. It matched my mood perfectly. Then the landline rang, startling me. Almost nobody had that number. I let it go to voicemail. A beep and Martha's familiar voice. Blair, it's Martha from reception. Your father called saying there's a family emergency and you need to leave immediately. I told him you were in a client meeting. He sounded intense. Call me back. I gripped the mug tighter. The family emergency tactic. Classic. My father knew exactly which buttons to push. I dialed the office. Martha, I'm fine. No emergency. If he calls again, please don't put him through. Is everything okay? Her voice was genuinely concerned. Just family drama. Thanks for checking. After hanging up, an email notification. Subject line, prayer request for Blair. My mother had told her entire church prayer group I was having a spiritual crisis, requesting prayers for my return to Christian forgiveness. The anger built in my chest, hot and electric. They were mobilizing every resource, pulling every lever in the family machine. The same machine that had crushed me into compliance for 30 years. But this time, something felt different. The machine was working against a new version of me. A version they hadn't encountered before. I grabbed the keys to my rental car and headed out. The insurance office was tucked in a small strip mall. Calvin Brooks greeted me with a handshake. Miss Mendoza, I appreciate you coming in. Call me Blair, I said, settling into the chair. And I appreciate your thoroughness. My family is applying pressure. Calvin nodded knowingly. He slid a folder across his desk. These are the non-permissive use forms. Signing these confirms your sister did not have permission. I flipped through the pages. And this, Calvin continued, pulling out another form, is a request for subrogation against the at-fault driver. In this case, your sister. My hand hovered over the paper. The pen felt heavier than it should. Most people cave to family pressure, Calvin said quietly. Especially with siblings. I've seen it dozens of times. I looked up at him. Not this time. I signed my name on each line with deliberate, firm strokes. Each signature felt like breaking a chain that had bound me since childhood. As Calvin copied the documents, I pulled out my phone and opened a new cloud folder. Photos of each form, the police report, the damage estimates, screenshots of Lydia's social media. Documentation. Evidence. Protection against the gaslighting I knew was coming. Calvin handed me the copies. The insurance company will handle it from here. Just be prepared. Family doesn't always react well when you stop playing by their rules. His warning proved prophetic. That evening, I arrived at my parents' house. Mom had set the dining table with the good china and crystal. A roast chicken, perfectly arranged vegetables, candles flickering. They were pretending this was a celebration, not an ambush. Dad poured wine without asking if I wanted any. Mom brought out Lydia's favorite cherry pie. Lydia arrived last, 30 minutes late, eyes downcast, an expertly crafted performance of contrition. Now that we're all here, Mom said, raising her glass. To family forgiveness. Dad and Lydia raised theirs. Mine stayed on the table. Lydia cleared her throat. Blair, I'm sorry you're so upset about the car. I know it meant a lot to you. The non-apology hung in the air. Not, I'm sorry I took it without permission. Not, I'm sorry I destroyed your property. Just, I'm sorry you're upset. I reached into my purse, pulling out a manila envelope. I slid it across the table toward her. Confusion crossed her face. What's this? She asked, not touching it. Open it. She did, pulling out the stack, the police report, the damage estimate showing $41,600, the subrogation notice. Dad snatched them, scanning with increasing alarm. His face darkened. What have you done? His voice started low, rising with each word. I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood. What I should have done years ago, held Lydia accountable. You've officially filed against your sister? Your own blood. Mom's voice quivered between outrage and disbelief. The insurance company is pursuing her for the damages. This isn't about family feelings anymore. It's about legal responsibility. We raised you better than this. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Family protects family. That protection only ever went one way, I said, my voice steady, surprising even me. Lydia takes. I give. That ends now. Lydia began to cry, but her eyes remained dry, the tears never quite materializing, though her shoulders shook convincingly. I can't believe you'd do this to me, she sobbed. My credit will be ruined. You had choices, Lydia, I retorted. You chose to take my car after I said no. You chose to crash it. You chose to post photos laughing about it. Blair, be reasonable. Mom moved to comfort Lydia. You can call the insurance company and tell them you've changed your mind. Actually, I can't, I said, fudging the truth slightly. Once the subrogation process starts, it's out of my hands. Dad stood now looming. You've always been jealous of your sister, always competing. Is that what this is about? Getting back at her. The accusation stung, but not as much as it once would have. This is about consequences, Dad. Nothing more. My phone rang. Calvin's name. Perfect timing. I need to take this, I said, stepping away. We're in the middle of dinner. Mom protested. I answered anyway, walking into the kitchen. Calvin, hello. His voice carried clearly through the phone. Just wanted to update you. We've officially filed the claim against your sister. If she doesn't respond within 30 days, it goes to collections. Thank you for letting me know, I said, making no effort to lower my voice. When I returned, 3 pairs of hostile eyes fixed on me. That was my insurance agent, I explained. The claim is officially filed. Dad's face reddened. What have you done? I smiled, not unkindly. Exactly what you taught me, Dad. I'm taking responsibility for my life and my choices. I suggest Lydia start doing the same. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, ignoring the eruption of voices behind me. In the driveway, I took a deep breath of the cool evening air. My phone buzzed. Rachel. How'd it go? Need backup? On my way home. I'll call you. You won't believe what just happened. As I drove away, I glimpsed my parents' house shrinking in the rearview mirror. For the first time, I didn't feel the gravitational pull to turn around, to apologize, to smooth things over, to be the reasonable one. Instead, I felt something new, the weightlessness of setting down a burden I never should have carried in the first place. 3 weeks later, I arrived at my parents' house, Rachel's silver BMW gliding to a stop behind me. A familiar dread settled in my stomach. The family tribunal had assembled. "Remember," Rachel said, "you don't have to stay if it gets uncomfortable." I nodded, gripping my leather portfolio, the small voice recorder heavy in my pocket. Mom answered the door, her smile tight fake. "Blair, honey." Her gaze slid to Rachel. "I didn't realize you were bringing a guest." "This is Rachel," I said, stepping inside. "She's here as my support." The living room fell silent. Dad rose, his face a thundercloud. Uncle Frank and Aunt Patricia sat rigidly, disapproving. Mom's best china gleamed, a manipulation tactic as transparent as cellophane. "What's this about?" Dad demanded, gesturing to Rachel. I placed the recorder in the center of the coffee table, its red light blinking steadily. "For my protection." The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. "Protection?" Mom's voice rose. "From your family?" "Yes," I answered simply. Rachel settled beside me, her presence solid. The front door opened. Lydia shuffled in, 30 minutes late, eyes puffy and red, her usual swagger gone. "I've been put on administrative leave," she announced, collapsing dramatically. "They said the insurance investigation makes me a liability." Mom rushed to her side. Dad glared at me. "I hope you're satisfied," he growled. The old Blair would have crumbled. The new Blair simply leaned forward. "Lydia, can we talk about what happened with my car?" "What's there to talk about?" she sniffed. "You're destroying my life over a stupid accident." "Was it an accident when you took my keys after I said no?" The room went still. Lydia's gaze flicked to the recorder. "You're recording this? Seriously? Answer the question, please." She looked to our parents for rescue. "Did I give you permission to drive my car?" "No," she muttered. "Louder, please." "For the record." Her eyes narrowed. "No, okay? I knew you said no, but you always say no. You're so uptight about your precious things." "So you deliberately took my car without permission?" "That's enough." Dad interrupted, producing a manila folder. "We've prepared a solution." He slid a settlement agreement toward me, Lydia's messy signature already there. $5,000, he explained. "She'll pay you $5,000 for the deductible. You drop the insurance claim, and we put this whole ugly business behind us." I scanned the pages, anger coiling tighter. A waiver of liability. Rachel murmured, "This isn't nearly enough." Mom leaned forward, voice honey-sweet but eyes hard as flint. "We raised you better than this, Blair. Family doesn't do this to family." Aunt Patricia's voice quavered. "After all we've done for you. Remember who drove you to piano lessons? Who sat with you in the emergency room?" Uncle Frank cleared his throat. "Your mother thinks you might be having some mental health issues. This fixation on punishing your sister isn't healthy." I closed the folder slowly, my pulse steady despite the flames licking through my veins. "I appreciate the offer," I said. "But I'll have to decline." "Decline?" Dad sputtered. "The insurance company has already started proceedings. It's out of my hands now." "That's nonsense." Dad snapped. "You can stop this anytime." "Actually, she can't," Rachel interjected, her professional tone cutting through the tension. "Once subrogation begins, the insurance company pursues the claim independently. It's their money now, not Blair's." Dad's face reddened. "If you go through with this, I'll cut you out of the will." "Is that what you want? The ultimate parental weapon." I met his gaze. "That's your right, just as this is mine." Lydia lurched to her feet, mascara streaming. "They're garnishing my wages, do you understand? I can't afford my apartment." "Fix this," Mom demanded. "Call them tomorrow and make it stop." "The process takes months," I explained calmly, as Lydia's tears flowed faster. "The insurance company sends multiple notices before taking action." "You've always been jealous of your sister," Mom hissed. Rachel shifted forward. "Mrs. Mendoza, wage garnishment requires a court order. If Lydia has reached that stage, she's ignored numerous legal notices. This isn't Blair's doing. It's the consequence of Lydia's actions and her failure to respond." A stunned silence fell as my family exchanged glances, the realization dawning that I had come prepared. My phone buzzed. Calvin's name. "I need to take this," I said. Rising. Rachel followed. In the kitchen, Calvin's voice. "Lydia hasn't responded to any of our letters. Collections is beginning." "Thank you," I said, making sure my voice carried. Mom appeared in the doorway, eyes blazing. "Who is that? The insurance man? Give me the phone." I stepped back. "We're leaving now. Blair Elizabeth Mendoza, don't you dare walk out that door." But I did. Rachel closed the door behind me. In her car, with the doors locked, I finally exhaled. "You did well in there," Rachel said. My phone lit up with messages. Coworkers planning a trip. A text from a neighbor. "Standing up to family is hardest. Proud of you." 2 days later, Lydia stormed into my workplace, her voice echoing. "Where is she? Where's my sister?" Security escorted her out. Within hours, Dad called my boss. "Mr. Patterson summoned me, but not for the reason I feared. Family disputes stay outside these walls," he said. "Your work is exemplary. That's all that matters here." By Friday, 3 women from Mom's prayer group had reached out. "We'd like to hear your side." Marion hasn't been telling the full story, has she? The final crack, Lydia called, her voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. "Dad says I have to fix this myself. He says he can't bail me out anymore." From Mom's friend Beverly, I learned my parents were fighting. Marion admitted something I never thought I'd hear, Beverly whispered. She said maybe they did spoil her too much. "Maybe you had a point all along." I hung up and stared at my reflection. My shoulders no longer curved inward. For the first time in 30 years, I was standing straight. Then, the pounding at my door, 10:38 p.m. on a Monday. 3 sharp raps, a pause, 3 more. Through the peephole, Lydia. Mascara smudged, huddled. "Blair, please, I know you're home." Her voice cracked. Against my better judgment, I opened the door, but left the security chain engaged. A physical boundary. Lydia looked different. Her hair hung limply. Her eyes, puffy from crying, widened. Under her arm, a weathered photo album. "Can I come in?" "Please." She glanced nervously down the hall. "I've been sleeping in my car. I didn't know where else to go." The old Blair would have unhooked the chain immediately. "Why are you here, Lydia?" She held up the album. "I found this at Mom and Dad's. Remember when we were kids? Before all this car stuff." Inside, I knew, were snapshots of 2 sisters, matching dresses, Lydia's arm perpetually slung around my shoulders, my smile always a beat behind. A bond that existed more in mythology than reality. My phone buzzed. "Mother, right on cue." I declined. A text immediately followed. "She's your sister. She's sleeping in her car. At least talk to her." The choreography was almost impressive. I closed the door, removed the chain, and stepped back. She entered, immediately claiming my couch, album spread open. "Remember this?" She pointed to a faded Polaroid. "We were so close then." My phone buzzed again. "Father." "Dad too?" I asked, declining. Lydia shrugged. "They're worried about you." "About me?" "Father Michael called. He thinks you should come to reconciliation. He says forgiveness is divine." "The church." My chest tightened. "You got the church involved?" Lydia wiped a tear. "Cousin David is organizing an intervention. For your hardened heart." "My hardened heart," I repeated flatly. "Mom's blood pressure is through the roof from all this stress." She looked up, eyes swimming. She had to increase her medication. I walked to the kitchen, took measured sips of water, staring out the dark window. 30 years of conditioning pressed against my ribs. My phone lit up. New video from Lydia's social media, 40 minutes ago. "When family abandonment leaves you homeless." My story. I turned. "You posted about this 40 minutes ago." Lydia's face flashed confusion, then recovery. "I'm just trying to process everything." From my bedroom, I retrieved an old birthday card. "Sisters forever, no matter what," Lydia's looping handwriting. A dangerous moment. I almost called Calvin to withdraw the claim. My hand actually reached for the phone. "I can't keep doing this," Lydia whispered, her voice small. "The calls from collection agencies, the letters. My credit is ruined." Something in her tone felt flat, a performance. I opened my laptop to her social media. 3 days ago, photos of Lydia at a rooftop bar, cocktail in hand, laughing with friends, luxury hotel tagged. This doesn't look like someone living in their car, I said, turning the screen. She barely glanced. That was before everything fell apart. The timestamp, Sunday. Lydia's mouth opened, closed. My phone buzzed. Rachel. Ran into your mom at the spa yesterday. She said she was treating Lydia to a stress relief day. Thought you should know. I showed Lydia. Mom took you to the spa yesterday. Her face hardened, the vulnerability act dropping. So what? I deserve some relief after what you've put me through. I called Calvin, maintaining eye contact. Has Lydia made any payment arrangements? No, we've sent 3 notices. Next step is formal collections. Thank you. I hung up. Lydia stood. You're really going through with this? Over a stupid car? I walked to my front door. Opened it. It was never about the car. You can't do this. I'm family. That's exactly why I have to. The next morning, a certified letter arrived. Final notice before collections. The same day, my insurance settlement deposited into my account. Enough for another new car, with some left over. Instead, I drove to a used car lot and bought a 3-year-old Honda Accord in dark green. Practical. Reliable. Paid in full. With the remainder, I opened my first investment account. In the Honda's fresh interior, I composed a text to Lydia. I've moved on. The insurance company hasn't. A week later, Calvin called. Investigation complete. Officially ruled unauthorized use. Collections has begun. Will it affect her credit? I asked, surprised I still cared. Yes. Substantially. He paused. Most family members cave before this point. You stood your ground. Thank you for telling me. That afternoon, Lydia's boss called. Miss Mendoza? We've terminated her employment. I massaged my temples. I understand. The ripples spread. Aunt Joyce called to apologize. Dad's golfing buddies stopped asking about me. Mom told her bridge club it was a misunderstanding. The pressure dissipated, molecule by molecule. 3 weeks later, Lydia appeared at my door one final time. Sober. No tears. Just resignation. I can't pay this, she said. They'll garnish my wages for years. I leaned against the door frame, neither inviting her in nor sending her away. That's what happens when we make choices. Her eyes, so like my own, searched my face. Can't you forgive me? We're family. The question hung heavy. For a moment, I saw us clearly, 2 women shaped by the same broken system, standing on opposite sides of a divide neither of us truly created. I forgive you, I said, meaning it. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. I closed the door gently. The soft click of the latch was more final than any slam could ever be. I eased my Honda over the winding mountain road, windows down, catching the crisp Colorado air. 6 months since that final confrontation, and the knot that had lived between my shoulder blades for 30 years had finally unraveled. The radio played an Eagles song Mom used to hum. For once, the memory didn't sting. It simply existed, like a photograph of someone I used to know. My new apartment costs less than I can afford, a deliberate choice. My savings grow each month, a silent guardian against future storms. My promotion came through last week, acknowledgement of the focused energy I've poured into work. My phone buzzed. Cousin Tanya. Your parents are asking if you're coming to the wedding. I've sent my gift, I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. I wish Greg and Michelle well. The silence stretched, but I didn't rush to fill it. That was the old Blair. Lydia's still complaining about the payments, Tanya offered, fishing. I tapped my steering wheel. That was her choice, not mine. The conversation ended. No guilt followed, no second guessing. Just the road ahead and mountains painted gold by the late afternoon sun. Back home, washing my car, the modest sedan gleamed. Mrs. Fitzgerald from next door observed, "That's a modest car for a successful accountant." I ran my hand over the hood. "This car comes without strings or guilt," I told her, smiling. "That makes it priceless." Later, curled on my balcony with tea, I wrote in my journal, I confused forgiveness with enabling. For years, I thought peace meant silence. Now I know my worth isn't measured by what I'll tolerate. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-respect. The pages filled with milestones, therapy, new friends, my first Thanksgiving with Rachel's family, sleeping 8 hours straight. At work, Jennifer from payroll asked about her sister. Help doesn't mean harm yourself, I told her gently. There's a difference between supporting someone and enabling them. A month later, Jennifer brought me chocolate. I told her no, she said, standing taller. She didn't speak to me for a week, but called yesterday asking how I was. First time in years. When the letter arrived from my parents' new address, they'd sold the family home. I didn't feel dread. They requested reconciliation on their terms. Phrases like water under the bridge and family comes first peppered the paragraphs. I composed a measured response about mutual respect and boundaries, but placed it in my desk drawer. I might send it someday, I might not. The urgency had dissolved. That evening, I drove to a mountain overlook, sunset painting the sky. Stepping from the car, I breathed deeply, shoulders relaxed, spine straight. For years, I thought forgiveness kept families together. But sometimes, peace doesn't come from staying quiet. It comes from standing up for yourself. Some people only grow when you stop protecting them from consequences. The breeze carried away the last of my doubt. The view stretched endlessly before me, much like the life I was finally free to live.